Part 40. My evil imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world, BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 391. The power on the surface of the light sphere that slowly rose from the formation and turned into a streamer of light was not conspicuous, but the emperor did not dare to be careless. He immediately sacrificed a high-level holy treasure to resist, and then quickly evaded. However, the speed of the light ball was too fast, and it even incorporated a hint of the wind element that Lum Wan had just realized, so after Emperor Killing Heaven's shield resisted most of the power, the light ball brushed over the shield and hit Emperor Killing Heaven's body. As soon as it touched Emperor Slaughter's body, the three-color light ball quickly turned into a ray of light and hit him hard. Although Emperor Nai Tian is a strong sword master, his body is different from that of a sword master who refines his body. Even if only 3/10 of his power hit his body, he couldn't help but fly backwards. Spit out a mouthful of blood. After the three-color light dissipated, everyone saw the originally handsome, arrogant, and wanton Emperor Killing Heaven clutching his chest and panting, with a trace of wet blood hanging on his lips. His clothes were shattered in many places, his hair was loose, and he couldn't imagine being the same as the high-spirited first person in the outer courtyard. On the other hand, looking at Lum Wan, with a thoughtful look on his stunning face, he stood in the air, his long black hair in a bundle fluttering in the wind, his eyebrows and eyes were picturesque, and his skin was whiter than snow. He is arrogant, and has a kind of dusty temperament. Just standing quietly is like a picture scroll that is pleasing to the eye. Junior sister Lu, you have won. Di Shishan looked up at the woman standing in the air, a hint of surprise appeared in his eyes, and then he restrained his expression and smiled bitterly. He was destined to be extraordinary from the moment he was born. Although he was covered by the brilliance of the peerless genius, he has also caught up with him since his innate talent was awakened. He is the pride of the family, the focus of the sex training, and the genius worshipped by countless brothers and sisters of the same sect. And this time is also the first time he has been defeated in more than 20 years, and he has never been so embarrassed before. He did have contempt at the beginning of the battle with Lum Wan. Even if he gradually became vigilant later, it was too late, but it was undeniable that he did lose. In this battle that he or the rest of the sect seemed to have no suspense, he actually lost, and the loss was not wrong at all. Lum Wan's talent had surpassed him. It wasn't scary to lose. Instead, he even felt a sense of happiness in his heart. The smooth sailing in the past 20 years had made him so proud that he gradually lost his way. Now this battle is like a blow to the head to wake him up, and let him understand that there are mountains outside the mountains, there are heavens outside the sky, and there are people outside people. Lum Wan was still thinking about the wind energy that he had integrated into the formation just now, and only looked down at him when he heard Di Killing Tian speak. She saw bloodshots hanging from his lips, his posture was embarrassed, and he was obviously injured while clutching his chest. But there was no resentment in his dark eyes, instead, there was an incomparable light, as if he had found a street lamp. There was an arc on her lips. Di Tian was a broad-minded, open-minded person, no wonder he could go so far at such a young age. I have a medicinal pill here. Senior brother, take it first. Lum Wan swept over to Di Jishan, took out a medicinal pill and handed it over. Emperor Killing Tian looked at the lustrous and full medicinal pill, and was stunned for a moment when he smelled the medicinal fragrance emanating from it. He immediately took the medicinal pill and took it orally, and it melted in the mouth. Thank you, junior sister. Moments after taking the medicinal pill, he felt that the blood surging in his body gradually calmed down, and he felt much more relaxed when he grasped the swollen and painful internal organs. Your medicinal pill is a good thing. Senior brother is too polite. Lum Wan smiled modestly. She gained a lot from the battle with Emperor Slaughtering Heaven this time. She was in a good mood, and it was much more pleasing to the eye when she looked at the senior brother. In addition, she is about to enter the inner sect, and she should participate in the great competition between the six sects together with Emperor slaughtering heaven soon, so I still hope not to have a grudge with this person. But seeing that Tian didn't resent her now, his impression of him could not help but get a little better. Of course, if Tian was the kind of villain who was narrow-minded and held grudges, although she wasn't afraid, she wouldn't take the initiative to show friendship. Junior sister just realized through the wind element power condensed in my formation, Emperor killing Tian couldn't help but ask the question in his heart. Lum Wan nodded and didn't hide it. I did understand the wind element through my brother's formation before. I would like to have a chance to discuss with my senior brother again. I don't know if senior brother Emperor will appreciate him at that time. Emperor slaughtering heaven's Fengyuan attribute has already reached the realm of Dachan, which is already considered very outstanding among the younger generation, and discussing with him will help her improve her understanding of Fengyuan Li. Haha. Dishishan smiled heartily. I can't ask for it, then I will come to junior sister Lu to discuss, so junior sister, please don't think I'm annoying. Lum Wan's fire element is already at the perfect state of Dachan, and his skills in formation are even more superior. Comparing with her will help him a lot even if she doesn't bring it up, he will take the initiative to pester him when he enters the inner door in the future. She sparred. I think my brother is very pleasing to the eye, so I gave this essence pill to my brother. I think it can help him to break through the bottleneck of the level. Lum Wan took out a porcelain bottle and gave it to Emperor Killing Heaven. She found that Emperor Slaughter's cultivation base should be stuck on the middle level sword sovereign for a long time, and she didn't mind selling him a good medicine pill to break through this bottleneck. And the stronger his strength, the more favorable the ratio between the six sects. Tian was also a cheerful and thick-skinned person. Hearing her say that, his eyes lit up, and he opened the bottle cap and smelled it. It's just that when he smells it, he can feel the UN force surging in the body, even more surging. If he takes it, the effect will be like what she said, it will help him to be promoted to the high-level swordsman. He immediately put away the medicinal pill, with a bit of gratitude on his face. Thank you for your generosity, junior sister, this medicinal pill is really important to me. I have made a deal with junior sister, if there is anything in the inner door, junior sister you can come to me. Okay. Senior brother and I don't even know each other. The style of the two who changed from opponents to friends was too fast, making the disciples who were still caught in the aftertaste of the battle just now a little unable to react. Lum Wan actually defeated senior brother Di, it's amazing. Yeah. And from the sincere look on the face of senior brother Emperor, it is obvious that he is not jealous of what happened just now. I am afraid that he has benefited a lot from the battle. Some people couldn't help but envy. The position of the first person in the outer door seems to be replaced today someone's side. Indeed, she is now the first person in the outer door. It's a pity that she will enter the inner door in a few days to compete with those perverts. With her performance in this assessment competition, she will definitely be cultivated by the sect, which is really enviable. The people below kept saying words of envy, but the shock in their hearts could not be dissipated for a long time. Yan Jun, Ling Fei Yang, and Mo Ling were also lucky enough to win the inner sect this time. Seeing how outstanding Lum Wan was, they couldn't help but smile bitterly while sighing with joy. The people who were also selected to enter the sect from the Tianling Continent Hegemony Tournament, but the gap between them and her is getting bigger and bigger. The students below chatted and discussed in a ball, and the principals sitting above were not calm at the moment. My evil imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world, BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant. Author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 392. Several hospital masters had different thoughts at this time. The head of the pill court was fixedly staring at the pill that Lum Wan gave to the emperor, while the head of the array court couldn't sit still. As soon as the inner sex disciple quota assessment competition was over, the head of the formation court left in a hurry to go to the sect master. Huo Linglong watched him hurriedly follow the back of the suzerain, and there was a sarcastic arc on his lips. This old man seemed to want to dig the corner of their Fuzuan Yuan. The heads of the other courts have different thoughts, all waiting for the head of the court to take the lead. The suzerain entered the door on the front foot, and the lord of the formation court followed behind. After sitting down, the waiter of the sect master made a pot of tea for the two and exited the gate. "Senior brother, do you have any plans?" After Lum Wan enters the inner door, the head of the array court asked first. The sect master slowly flicked the tea leaves in the cup with the lid, and then slowly said, "Do you think Huo Linglong will give up Lum Wan?" Sect master, Xuelaner did her tricks before going to the Fuzuan Academy when Lum Wan chose the School of Art. With her outstanding talent in the formation, it would be best to transfer to the formation court. The head of the formation court said bluntly. The way. Her talent in the formation is really against the sky, but being able to refine a 4th level talisman shows that her talent is also very good in the way of talisman. It is impossible for Huo Linglong to let people go. The court master of the formation court was indifferent, and he thought about it and asked, "What if Lum Wan voluntarily chose the formation court?" "If it is Lum Wan's own choice, I will naturally not interfere, and Huo Linglong has no right to stay," the sect master said. "Okay, after Lum Wan enters the inner door, the old man will go and talk to her." The court master had a happy face. The sect master glanced at him lightly and said with a smile, "Lum Wan's talent has already been noticed by the senior management of the section. Once she enters the inner sect, once the comprehension tower is opened, if she performs well, it is very likely that she will be accepted by one of them. As a disciple, if you want to talk, I won't stop me, but I can't force her." The head of the court was stunned, and then Mo Mingguo crossed his eyes. "I see, if she doesn't want to come to the court, I won't force it." However, he could lure Lum Wan. He believed that in the face of absolute interests, anyone would be tempted. After the head of the array court left, the head of the Dan court and several other courtyards also came to visit the suzerain. After getting the unanimous answer, he prepared to wait for Lum Wan to arrive at the inner door before making plans. After returning to Fuzuan Academy, Lum Wan was greeted by the disciples in the same courtyard. After she had dealt with it, she hid in her own courtyard and practiced without seeing guests. In the battle with Emperor Slaughter, she was able to grasp a sense of comprehension of the wind element, and she has been further comprehending it in recent days. 5 days later, she received a sound transmission, and when she opened the courtyard door, she saw Xianxia standing at the door with a smile. "Why are you here, brother? All the places for inner disciples have been announced, and the head of the academy asked me and you to report to the inner gate." Xianxia said gracefully. Lum Wan nodded. "Okay, shall we go now?" Lum Wan was not familiar with the Beiji sect, and the two flew to a remote hall for about half an hour. "The inner door is here," Lum Wan blinked and asked. Xianxia chuckled, "Of course not, but we have to take the flying monster from here." "The inner door is far from here?" Lum Wan asked as he walked. Zikeshi took him to the top floor of the main hall. "It will take more than half a day to arrive." After Lum Wan went up to the top floor, he found that there were quite a few halos here, and the 7th order flying monsters that were locked in the halo were all domesticated. "The two of you are going to the inner door," an elder who managed the flying monster beast palace looked at the two and asked. "Yes." Xianxia handed over the pass orders for the two of them. After the elder checked it out, a smile appeared on his face. "Come with me." Immediately, the two sat on a 7th order eagle and tiger-faced beast and swam in the opposite direction to the outer door. "Why don't we make our own flying instruments? Is there anything special?" Lum Wan asked while sitting on the eagle and tiger-faced beast. "The location of the inner gate is quite special. Only the eagles, and tiger-faced beasts raised by the sect who have made special marks from childhood can find the place to enter after the identity token. You can enter and exit freely. We don't need to go to the inner door with other people." Lum Wan thought at first that the sect would let the disciples go to the inner door to report. The outer disciples of each courtyard will report together, and the other disciples of Arfuswen will be led by the head of the courtyard to report in 2 days, Xianxia explained. Then why are we 2 days ahead of schedule? Lumwen frowned and was very puzzled. The comprehension tower in the inner courtyard will be opened in 2 days for some reason, and the only 2 of us who can go to the comprehension tower in the Fuswen Academy are the 2 of us, so it's ahead of schedule. Xianxia's eyes were filled with anticipation. I see. Near the evening, the eagle and tiger-faced beast crossed a large lake, and after passing the lake, you can see the continuous ups and downs of the forest, which is very spectacular. The griffin chirped a few times, and its 2 claws landed on a tree dozens of feet high and patted a spot. Then I saw that its claws were rubbed by a hidden formation. After the breath matched, I saw an ancient gate out of thin air on the tree. The door opened slowly, the eagle and the tiger-faced beast flew in, and then the door behind it closed immediately. Lumwen did not expect that the inner door would be hidden in such a place. The big tree was obviously the edge of a huge guardian formation. After entering the gate, I saw a great hall standing majestically at intervals in the distance, with disciples walking around from time to time. Lingyuan surrounds the surroundings, and the spiritual fields below are planted with various spiritual grasses and flowers. The concentration of spiritual energy here is more than 3 times that of the outer door. The surrounding islands are covered by the formation, and the griffins and tiger-faced beasts are carefully avoided one by one. Most of those floating islands are the residences of the elders. You should be careful not to come to this area when flying in the future, Zixjian Lumwen reminded him while looking at the island formation. Then the floating island is all about gathering spirit arrays, Lumwen said while rubbing his chin. Xianxia chuckled, junior sister really has good eyesight. Only the elders live on the floating island. Lumwen watched a young man Yujian enter a floating island in the distance. The man was wearing the clothes of an inner disciple. If the disciples who can rank in the top 10 in contribution points can also spend their contribution points to buy living time on a floating island, that senior brother is one of them. Xianxia's expression was full of yearning. In addition to the spirit gathering array, I heard that the floating island has many benefits and uses. If the junior sister can earn more contribution points in the future, it can be considered. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My evil imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world, BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant. Author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 393. Lumwen saw that the yearning in Xianxia's eyes was very hot. She raised her head and swept the air, which was like a fairyland-like floating island surrounded by spiritual clouds. She found that each floating island not only has a spirit gathering array, but also integrates the offensive and defensive formations, and isolates all the consciousness and sound waves. You mean that only the top 10 people in the inner sex contribution value can buy the usage time of the floating island? Xianxia smiled and shook his head. All inner disciples can buy the use time of the floating island, but the contribution value spent is extremely astonishing. Some people have calculated that only the top 10 disciples in the ranking can afford it. How long can I buy a 100,000 contribution value for living time? Lumwen asked after thinking for a while. A month or so, Xianxia said with a wry smile. You got 100,000 sect contribution points for killing Shen Mufeng. Although you are ranked first in the outer sect, you might not even be able to rank in the top 100 after the inner section. Lumwen frowned. It's only been a month? It's too embarrassing. Spending 100,000 contribution points to live on a floating island for a month feels like a luxury. No wonder only the top 10 have the ability to buy time. She used to think that her sex contribution value was quite high, but who knows what Xianxia said, it doesn't seem to be high. All the consumption of the inner sect must be exchanged for contribution points. Usually, the resources issued by the sect are not enough to be used. If there is no contribution value, it is absolutely impossible for the inner sect to move. Xianxia explained. The contribution value of killing a swordsman can only live on a floating island for a month, so how do other people get the contribution value? Lu Muan was speechless. Although the sect has issued a wanted order, it does not encourage the disciples in the sect to do the wanted task. After all, those who can get the wanted order are not only powerful but also very cruel, so the contribution value of the reward is relatively high. The risk of talking and bounty is disproportionate, Xianxia said. Seeing a bit of confusion in her eyes, Xianxia continued to explain, every disciple of the inner sect is an outstanding genius in the Tianling continent, although many other training missions are also very dangerous, their nature is different. Lu Muan nodded, understandable. If sect's hard-to-use resources nurture a peerless genius, it would be thanks to those wanted criminals who died because of the chasing mission. Actually, I don't know the specific method of earning contribution points for the inner door. I only know that if you want to get a better and better cultivation environment and resources in the inner door, you must first work hard to earn contribution points. Xianxia sighed and said, the competition of the inner sect and the outer sect are not at the same level. Exchange with contribution value. Interesting. Lu Muan hooked the corner of her lips. No matter where there is no good thing for nothing, it is impossible for the sect to pay blindly. It is more interesting and challenging for her to strive for everything by herself. Xianxia's mouth twitched violently, what seemed extremely hard to them turned out to be interesting to her. The eagle and the tiger-faced beast took them to the entrance of the main hall in the central area and flew away. A disciple outside the door saw the two coming down from above, and walked over with a smile. Our junior brother and junior sister coming to the inner door to report. Well, we were ordered to report today. Xianxia handed over the order for the two of them. After the disciple checked, there was a bit of surprise in his eyes, he raised his head and looked at the two of them again, with an even more smile on his face. Junior brother, junior sister, come with me. After taking Lu Muan and Xianxia to the management office of the main hall, he left. I'm Steward Wang at the inner sect registration office, give me your original identity token. Steward Wang looked at the two with a kind smile and said. After the two handed over the identity tokens, Steward Wang put away the two jade tokens and said to the two of them, you will print your own essence on it. This is your passport to the inner door in the future, and you must keep it well. After receiving the identity jade card, Steward Wang took the two to the resource management office to receive a space ring each, which contained the clothes of the inner disciple and some resources of the newly promoted inner disciple. Each inner disciple has a separate residence, and the core disciple can open a cave in a fixed spiritual mountain by himself. Because you are going to the Comprehension Pagoda tomorrow, you will temporarily live here today, and someone will arrange your accommodation when you come out of the Comprehension Pagoda. Manager Wang took the two to a side hall where they lived exclusively. Yes, thanks Steward Wang, the two replied with a smile. After Steward Wang left, Lu Muan and Xianxia greeted each other and went back to their rooms to rest. The spiritual energy here is so strong. Bingji jumped from his shoulders to the table, picked up the teapot, poured himself a glass of water, and said with disgust, this spiritual water is good, but the spiritual tea is too bad. Lu Muan rolled his eyes at him, it's good if you have a drink. The tea she uses to brew tea is the top-grade spirit tea that she gave her when she separated from Mingxiu last time. Not many people on this continent can afford it, and you can't buy it even if you have spirit stones. Compared with nature, Lingcha is a heaven and a land. I heard that it is not allowed to bring spiritual pets to go to the Comprehension Pagoda. You should stay here and cultivate well. Lu Muan glanced at Bingji, you have reached the peak of the 8th order, I will give you a few pills soon, you can make a breakthrough during this time. Although it is difficult to break through to the 9th order monster, Bingji's innate divine beast talent determines that he will not have a huge bottleneck in advancing to the 9th order like other monsters. Okay, little master, don't worry, I have already sensed an opportunity to break through. Bingji has been practicing hard recently, mainly because Miao Miao and Shui are now on the same level as him, and he feels very ashamed. Work hard. Lu Muyan smiled meaningfully at him, then poked Mo Yan and said, during my absence recently, take good care of them and don't go out to cause trouble. Well, let's put your pendant here first. The comprehension tower should have an advanced formation that searches automatically. Jun Luokan will most likely be found if you follow. Yuan Mo Yan thought for a while and said. Lu Muyan took off the pendant from her neck and threw it to Mo Yan like a hot potato. If the senior officials of the sect knew that she had been raised by a demon, she would have to pull out her skin. It's really dangerous to carry this demon, venerable. Jun Luokan is a hidden danger from time to time. I really don't know if it's good or bad to keep him to cooperate. It's really a troublesome spirit. Mo Yan waved his paw in disgust and the pendant fell on Bingji's neck. I don't like the aura on him. There were frequent wars between the demon realm and the demon realm, and he was displeased with the sinister aura that Mojun Jun Luokan carried. Jun Luokan, who was disliked by one person and one beast, twitched the corners of his mouth speechlessly. His dignified demon realm's demon venerable also had a day when he was disliked by humans and demons. My evil imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world, BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant. Author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 394. Early the next morning, an elder brought Lu Muyan and Zakeshi to the central hall. At this time, the sect master and elder Aorong were both sitting in the center of the main hall, and there were more than a dozen disciples standing in front of them. As soon as Lu Muyan approached, they found that the 11 disciples had a strong aura. It can be seen that these people are old disciples of the inner sect, and Lu Muyan saw Jin's among the 11 people. Jin Se cast a kind smile at Lu Muyan and blinked. At the same time, many of the 11 people looked at the two of them in unison, with playfulness, indifference, and disdain in their eyes. Then several elders brought new disciples from other courtyards who could enter the comprehension pagoda to practice. Lu Muyan recognized Ditian and Yinhong among them. When everyone arrived, the sect master coughed lightly and said to the disciples below, I think you all know the purpose of gathering you here today. The sect's magic comprehension tower is about to open, which is a very rare opportunity. The sect master paused and said, in the past, disciples who wanted to enter the comprehension tower to comprehend and cultivate must achieve a certain sect contribution or talent to obtain the comprehension tower. Only with the approval of the guardian elders. However, the situation is special this time, especially the new disciples who have entered the inner sect must seize this opportunity. You will represent the Beiji sect in this competition among the 6 major sects in 3 months. The most important thing is that this competition is related to the number of places for the 6 sects to enter the inheritance, so the hope of the whole sect is placed on you and the others, a new inner disciple. Hearing him say this, all the disciples were stunned. Lu Muyan had long known about this from Huo Linglong, but she also showed a surprised expression at the right time. Sect Master, do you mean that we need new inner disciples to fight for the place we want to enter the inheritance land? A mature-looking man among the old disciples stood up and cupped his hands to the sect master. The sect master sighed and replied, this decision was made by the ancestors of the 6 major sects, and no one dares to change it. But they have only been in the inner sect for 3 months to participate in the competition of the 6 major sections. Isn't this a bit suspenseful? A burly-looking disciple asked with a frown. The other sects who participated in the competition are also newly promoted inner disciples. There is no doubt about this, so the Tower of Comprehension was opened for them to enter and cultivate. Presumably other sects have also tried their best to improve the strength of the new disciples in the past 3 months. Said the sovereign. Since they are standing on the same starting line, it's fair. It's just that in the past, the sects were at the bottom of our Beiji section. This time it is related to the place of inheritance. Our Beiji sect is very disadvantaged, the steady man spoke again. The suzerain's eyes also showed concern, this is also something that can't be helped. The rules set by the ancestors have to suffer even if our Beiji sect is wiped out in the competition. In the last competition of the 6 major sects, the Bajaizong only won the 3rd place in the strength competition, and took the 2nd place in the formation competition, and the other magic competitions were completely wiped out. Okay, it's useless to talk too much, Elder Aorong said with a stern face. This time, the new inner disciples of our Beiji sect are all good, and they may get excellent results. What you have to worry about now is how can I understand more in the comprehension tower. Yes. Aorong, take them to the comprehension tower. The sect master waved his hand and said. Yes, brother. Aorong used the flying instrument to bring the group to a hidden hall, and after opening the formation, he used the teleportation formation to teleport to the secret place of the 8 extreme sect. After entering the secret land, Lum Wan saw 5 towering stone towers in front of him, with the vicissitudes of life, and each tower exuded the coercion of high-level artifacts. Aorong is your leader this time. An elder walked out from each of the 5 comprehension towers. One of them calmly looked at the 20 people behind Aorong and said, "This time the disciples look pretty good overall. I can make you say it's good. It seems that we still have hope of winning this competition of the 6 major sections," Aorong said with a smile. The corners of the other elders' mouths twitched, and this guy Aorong just likes to climb along the pole. Wasn't their Beiji sect the bottom one? This batch of disciples looks good, but the new inner disciples from other sects are even better. Okay, let me talk about the rules for entering the Tower of Comprehension. One of the elders, who seemed to be highly respected, stroked his grey beard and said, "There are 5 towers of comprehension, namely the Dan Tower, the Talisman Tower, the Refining Tower, the Formation Tower, and the Beast Control Tower. Each tower is divided into 9 layers. Each floor of the Comprehension Tower has a detailed comprehension wall, and you can start to comprehend when you penetrate your spiritual power into the wall. If a disciple has a deep understanding of the things in the Comprehension Tower on the 1st floor, the Comprehension Tower will activate itself and transmit that person to the 2nd floor, and so on. Until the comprehension reaches the limit, the Comprehension Tower will send the disciple out of the tower. Outside. Of course, the higher the tower you enter, the more you have comprehended, and the stronger your talent for that spell. The opportunity is in front of you. After entering the Comprehension Tower, first adjust your mentality. If you can enter the ethereal state, it is best. If you understand the limit and be passed out of the tower, don't force it. The elder introduced the rules of the Comprehension Tower in one breath. Yes, the 20 people replied in unison. If you have any questions, you can ask them now, and after a stick of incense, you can enter the tower one by one to understand. The elder paused and said, "Elder, this junior has a question to ask." One of the old disciples stood up and said, "Say, do we choose to enter the 5 towers of comprehension, or are they distributed by the elders? You choose for yourself. If someone not only has one magic technique spread out from one comprehension tower, but can also continue to enter another comprehension tower." "Excuse me, elder, what is the highest level a disciple of the sect in the comprehension tower can reach?" a disciple asked with expectation and confidence. Among the 5 comprehension pagodas, a peerless genius of the Beiji sect who has already ascended to the Guangling realm has realized the 7th floor, and all 4 pagodas have realized the 7th floor. Hearing the elders say this, many people have longing and strange colors in their eyes. Lum Wan's eyes were full of interest, but she wanted to see what was in the tower to comprehend. As long as you enter the tower and understand the disciples on the 5th floor, your future achievements will be extraordinary. You should work hard. Here, the disciples and elders exchanged questions and answers, and soon it was time for a stick of incense. Okay, you can choose one of the comprehension towers to enter. All 5 towers can enter into comprehension, but the stacking time cannot exceed 2 months. After 3 months, there will be a big competition between the 6 major sects, So the longest time for understanding the tower is 2 months. But although it was said to be 2 months, the elders of the towers did not take it to heart. Because except for the soaring peerless genius who stayed in the 4 towers for a total of 1.5 months, the others felt at most 1 month before it was over. My evil imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world, BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 395. Lum Wan and the others approached the Comprehension Pagoda in turn. Among the 20 people, the most people chose the Array Pagoda, the Dan Pagoda, and the Refining Pagoda, and the fewest the Fu Pagoda, so she advanced to the Fu Pagoda. The people who entered the Fuda with her and Zakeshi were transported to a separate space as soon as they stepped into the tower door. There is a yellow crystal wall in the space, the material cannot be seen, and several futons are placed in front of the crystal wall. Lum Wan and Ziche glanced at each other with a smile, and each chose a futon to sit cross-legged without speaking. Neither of them was in a hurry to understand, but quietly adjusted their states. When they were in the best state in the sea of consciousness, they began to use their mental power to penetrate into the crystal wall. As soon as Lum Wan's mental power touched the crystal wall, a force forcefully sucked her mind into it. She was not nervous, she relaxed her body and began to accept it. Immediately, her mental power turned into a little man the size of a slap and appeared in a dark space, pitch black. She looked around calmly and indifferently, and heard a mechanical voice. Choose a direction and keep going, don't miss the scenery along the way, when you reach the limit or at the end, you will be sent to the first floor. Lum Wan closed her eyes, and when she opened them, she had a firm look in them. She didn't think much about it, and walked directly in the direction of the teleportation. Walking aimlessly in the dark space, she found that she was like a mortal at this time. She had lost her spiritual power and could not explore the front. She even felt like she was powerless. This walk was 1 day and 1 night. She didn't stop. On the second day, a light and shadow screen suddenly appeared on the road ahead. She stopped and watched quietly. The light and shadow in front was an introduction to the basic knowledge of talismans, which was easy to understand and detailed. After watching the first light curtain, she closed her eyes and quietly recalled the images that appeared on the light curtain before. I kept walking and watching like this, as if a year, 2, or 10 years had passed. When a dazzling light suddenly appeared in front of him, Lum Wan was teleported out of the crystal wall and fell into another independent space. In a stone house next to the Comprehension Pagoda, the elders of the 5 pagodas and Aorong drank wine and chatted while watching the small mirror projected by the crystal ball. Hey, someone has entered the 2nd floor so soon. An elder swept the image on the projection of the talisman and snorted lightly. Others looked over, and when Aorong saw that Lum Wan was the first to realize the 2nd floor, he laughed a few times. The person dug up by this old man is extraordinary, maybe this little girl can realize the 7th floor. Just blow it, this little girl's talent may be good, but it's just whimsical to understand the 7th floor. The elder guarding the talisman tower rolled his eyes at him. I think she can understand that the 5th floor is very powerful. Elder Aorong pouted, don't underestimate this girl, you old man, she is not comparable to ordinary people. Which of the inner disciples who can enter the Comprehension Pagoda is an ordinary person? In the end, they all stopped below the 7th floor. The elder of the Danta Pagoda said. Over the years, apart from the one who realized the 7th floor, the best result was that Dijifeng realized the 6th floor of the Formation Tower when the tower was opened last time. The elders of the Formation Tower were proud. Say. Aorong raised his eyebrows and asked, Difeng's Haifeng realized that the 6th floor of the Formation Tower means that he is already a 6th level Formation Mage. It can only be said that he is more likely to become a 6th level Formation Mage. The elder of the Formation Tower paused and continued, the level of perception of the 5 comprehension towers only means the achievement that person may achieve in the future, and does not represent that he already has that power. Of course, There are also people who have realized the 5th level, but when they combine understanding and chance, they can also enter a higher level. On the contrary, the disciples who can realize that the 6th level will not necessarily become the 6th level. The higher the tower layer of perception, the better the talent. Generally, there is a 60% chance of reaching the spell level corresponding to the tower layer. The elder of the formation tower smiled mysteriously. As far as I know, Emperor Killing Wind has just been promoted to a 6th level formation mage, and he is also the first genius disciple of the inner sect to reach 6th level magic. The eyes of several elders showed surprise and praise. Emperor Killing Wind was indeed a very good disciple in the inner section. He also won the 2nd place in the competition of the 6 sects last time. Hearing that the elders of the formation tower highly praised Difeng, Ao Rong remembered Lum Wan's performance in formation talent. It is undeniable that the talent of Emperor Feng slaying is indeed excellent, but Lu Yetu will definitely not give in too much. If you don't believe it, just watch it. He had an inexplicable confidence in Lum Wan. Come on, that little girl was dug by you from the Tianling continent battle for hegemony. Of course you said that, the elder of the item refining tower sneered. You don't believe me? Ao Rong asked with a snort and raised his eyebrows. I don't believe it, the guarding elders of the 5 towers responded invariably. Why don't you take a gamble? Ao Rong suggested. The elder of Fuda looked at Lum Wan, who was still feeling on the 2nd floor, and asked with a smile, what kind of gambling method? I am gambling on the Muan Pagoda, the Formation Pagoda, and the Fu Pagoda to be able to perceive the 6th floor and above. Ao Rong looked confident. If I lose, I will give each of you a pot of high-grade blood bag spirit wine. If you lose, give me the tower spirit energy you have accumulated over the past 10 years. Several people glanced at each other and sneered. You also have spirit wine made from blood sacks? Blow it on you. Yes, I'll give you a taste first, and I won't bet that you will regret it later. Ao Rong's mind moved, and a pot of blood sack wine fell on the table. The elder of Danta took the lead in picking up the jug and poured a cup. The red liquid in the cup was so transparent that there was no impurities at all, and a fragrant aroma of wine emanated from the cup. He took a sip immediately, and his eyes that had been a little cloudy lit up. The sweetness is clear, the aftertaste is endless, and it also has the effect of intensive cultivation. Good wine. When the other elders saw him lift the jug to pour a 2nd cup, they quickly grabbed the jug and poured a drink each. The blood sack is drunk. Ao Rong, where did you get the blood sack wine? 11 Zayalo. Ao Rong said disdainfully, just the stingy old immortals in Zazalo have such skills. Don't ask where the wine comes from, whether to gamble or not. Several elders are old alcoholics, and they don't believe that Lum Wan can understand the 6th floor, so he immediately agreed. Betting, why not bet? It seems that you have to go back and prepare more pots of blood sack wine. There was a hint of cunning in Ao Rong's eyes. This blood bag wine was given to him by Lu Girl last time. Even if he really lost the bet, just ask Lu Girl for it. But if you can win the bet, you can get the 5 old guys and get the tower spirit energy that they have accumulated for 10 years, and then give it to Lum Wan. I believe that in exchange for this, I can get a lot of good spirits from the little girl. Liquor. He is also an alcoholic, and when he thinks that he can get more spirit wine from Lum Wan, his whole person glows with a strange brilliance. Okay, cheer up, high five for an appointment. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My evil imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world. BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant. Author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 396. Lum Wan, who was feeling on the 2nd floor, didn't know about Ao Rong's bet with the elders. She was walking continuously in the dark space on the 2nd floor. When the first scene appeared, she found that the introduction of talismans on the screen had become a demonstration made by an image of a talisman master. After writing down the production methods and techniques in the video, she continued to follow the dark road with no end in sight, only this time it took twice as long to see the second video on the way. The time in the space passed little by little, as if 20 years had passed. When the dazzling light at the end appeared, Lum Wan successfully entered the third level of perception. At this time, people continued to realize the second layer, but it was much slower than her speed. In this way, I kept walking and watching in the hidden dark space, and each layer of images expressed different expressions. Later, although all the talismans were demonstrating, the difficulty has increased significantly. When it was on the 5th floor, there were a few more rare talismans in the process of making talismans demonstrated by the talisman master in the video. In the Tianling continent, this refining method has long been lost and is very precious. With each additional layer, the time to find and walk in the dark will double or even 10 times. The content on the image is demonstrated very quickly and only once. If you can't remember it, you will lose the opportunity to continue to understand. Every time Lum Wan watched an image on the light curtain, he would sit cross-legged and rest while recalling his understanding. She has always had a talent for making talismans, and with the accumulation of past lives, she can remember the contents of the video after seeing it once. In the cultivation world, except for medicinal pills, which were carefully taught by the master, she taught other techniques by herself, so it was inevitable that although she was proficient in this technique, it was not comprehensive. After comprehending the 5th floor in the talisman, she found that many problems that she could not understand suddenly became clear after watching the video, and many skills were also integrated with the things she had mastered in the video, which benefited a lot. "That girl is about to finish the 5th floor," the elder of Fuda said nervously, staring at the reflection mirror of the crystal ball. At this time, they both hoped that Lum Wan could walk out of the 5th floor and stepped into the 6th floor, but also worried that she would go to the 6th floor, so that they would lose the tower spirit that they had worked so hard to accumulate over the past 10 years. In short, the elders were very contradictory at this time, and they were all determined to watch her next performance. When the light at the end appeared, Lum Wan's lips curved up. Did he reach the 6th floor? She was really teleported to the 6th floor, and it took such a short time, the head of the Fuyuan said in disbelief. Ao Rong had a stern look on his face. "What's the fuss about? The little girl's talent is not only about this. You go and prepare the tower spirit energy." Humph. It was said before that Dan Pagoda, Formation Pagoda, and Fu Pagoda all realized the 6th floor, and now only Fu Pagoda has reached it, the elder of Fu Pagoda said. Ao Rong raised his eyebrows. "If I do what I say, will I still deny it? Just keep your eyes open and watch." When Lum Wan realized the 6th floor, Zai Che Shi entered the talisman on the 5th floor to realize it, and Emperor Killing Tian also entered the crystal wall of the 5th floor to realize it. Several elders couldn't help showing their joy. It seems that the new inner disciple this time is not bad. That Emperor Killing Heaven is Emperor Killing Wind's younger brother. The eyes of the elders of the Formation Tower lit up. It is indeed the younger brother of Emperor Slaughter Wind. They are also known as the double arrogance of the Formation, but the relationship between the two brothers is very general. Ao Rong also paid some attention to the two brothers of Emperor Slaughter. "I wonder if he can go to the 6th floor like his brother." The elder of the Formation Tower looked expectantly. Emperor Killer Feng awakened his talent at the age of 3, and Emperor Killer Tian only awakened his talent for cultivation when he was 18 years old, but he is not weak at all. Like Lum Wan, he was famous for his waste materials before. Ao Rong said both are more concerned. What? It was only when he was 18 years old that he awakened his talent for cultivation? Then he has achieved what he has achieved in 4 years. The elder of the Formation Tower was shocked. "If that's the case, isn't he more talented than Emperor Feng Slayer?" said the elder of the Refining Tower. "Of course, I actually like these rising stars better." Ao Rong's face was extremely proud. "I also brought Di Tian Tian into the sect, and the little girl Lu is more talented than him." Why did you just say Lu Yetu and Di Tian Tian were famous for being trash before? Isn't her talent very strong now? The elder of Fuda asked with interest. Before she was 16 years old, she was born with a pulseless physique. Later, by chance, she refined the Susui Dan to eradicate the pulseless physique. Since then, I have been out of control in the Cultivation 1, and it only took 2 years to reach the point where I am today. Ao Rong has investigated Lum Weian's past in depth, and the senior alchemy master she mentioned does not exist at all. He guessed that the Zisui Dan at that time was made by this girl herself. What? It only took 2 years, this talent is too unbelievable. Several elders widened their eyes in shock. In 2 years, from the Sword Envoy cultivation base to the peak of the Sword Master, he also has a high talent achievement in the field of magic. Such a genius has basically never appeared in the Tianling continent. No wonder it is rumored that the born dead veins are the children abandoned by heaven and earth, and they are also the darlings of heaven and earth. Once the dead veins are eradicated, they will soar into the sky. The elder of Fuda sighed. While several people were sighing, the elder of the refining tower suddenly stood up and pointed at the crystal reflection and exclaimed, "Oh my God! Look at her entering the 7th floor." The others looked at each other and happened to see Lum Weian being teleported to the independent space on the 7th floor. This. The elder of Fuda was a little excited and didn't know what to say. Genius. I'll report this to the sect master soon, said the elder of the refining tower. Ao Rong raised his hand to stop her and said, "No hurry, it won't be too late to report the results of other towers after she has completed her comprehension of the talisman. What she is best at is not talisman. Then what is she best at? Formation. According to my attention to her, she is best at formation, and in the assessment competition for the inner disciples of the sect, she and Di Tian Tian both showed the strength of a 5th level formation wizard." Ao Rong replied. The elder of the formation tower widened his eyes. Such a young 5th level formation mage. Immediately, his old face turned into a flower and said, "It seems that there is really no need to report to the sect master immediately, but the old man wants to see how many floors she can walk to the tower." The calm gazes of the other elders were now a little more hopeful than surprised. In the talisman, Lum Weian did not rush to begin to comprehend the 7th floor, but spent 2 days sitting cross-legged to digest what he had realized in the previous 6 floors. When she walked into the 7th floor, Di Tian Tian also stepped into the 6th floor of the formation tower. "My evil imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world, BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant." Author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 397. After Lum Weian's mental power entered the 7th floor space, it was pitch black. She stepped forward, and time passed by, year after year, as she walked aimlessly in the darkness as a mortal. It took a long time this time, and with Lum Weian's temperament, she began to wonder if she was going in the wrong direction. However, after being in a trance again and again, she is still firm in her choice. As long as she does not come to the end, she will continue. Finally, after more than 10 years had passed, a projection suddenly appeared in front of him. In the projection is still a high-level talisman master demonstrating the refining process of talismans, but this time the talismans are even more rare and precious, and there is even a method of suppressing and refining talismans from demon souls. After the projection was demonstrated in front of her eyes, it automatically disappeared into the dark space. Occasionally, confusion appeared in her eyes, and she stood silently thinking about it, but the time she spent there was 10 times longer than the time she spent on the previous floor. When the confusion in her eyes disappeared and she gradually became clear and clear, she began to continue walking forward. A little bit of time passed, and she seemed to have walked for hundreds of years before she came to the end in the 7th layer space. Walking non-stop in this space, there is no road ahead, only infinite darkness and loneliness. If it wasn't for Lum Weian's previous life, she had gone through countless trials and straddles of death, and she would have been patient for 100 years after one practice, and she might not be able to persist. Moreover, walking alone and wandering in this dark space is very tempering, and the irritability in her heart was gradually smoothed out. When the dazzling light beam on the 7th floor appeared, Lum Wan stretched out his hand to block it. It's just that the power of the space did not transmit her to the 8th floor this time. When she was strange, the mechanical voice sounded again in the space. The comprehension tower has 9 floors in total, but the space in the lower realm can only accept the memory of the 7th floor. The other 2 floors are in the Guangling realm, and those who have the chance will encounter the great achievement of comprehension. Lum Wan frowned, and the 2 floors in the back had to fly to the Guangling world to find the comprehension tower to realize it. However, as soon as her mind turned calm, she had benefited a lot from the inheritance of the first 7 layers. Many things that were ignorant before were all clearly understood in the demonstration of the video. Because the last 2 floors did not exist in the 8 extreme sex comprehension tower, she was passed out of the talisman tower. At this time, many people have been rumored to comprehend the tower, and some people will go to other towers to continue to comprehend. Next, she walked to the formation tower next to her and began to feel it. She didn't even reach the 8th floor, Ao Rong said with some disappointment. The elder of the pagoda glanced at him, and after thinking about it, he still told the truth, there are actually no 8th and 9th floors in these 5 towers. What? Why not? Ao Rong asked in surprise. This 9-story comprehension tower is said to be an artifact refined by a powerful person in the Guangling world. The comprehension tower of our Beiji sect is just a replica, so the top 2 floors are missing, the elder of the Danta said. Where is the real artifact? How can we have a replica? Ao Rong asked curiously. The elder of the Fuda gave him a white look. The real artifact is naturally in the Guangling realm. As long as people who have completed the 7th floor in the copied comprehension pagoda, I heard that they will have the opportunity to comprehend the last 2 levels again. As for why our sect has replicas, we don't know that. It seems that the ancestors brought it back. That's really a pity, otherwise, with the little girl's comprehension ability, she might really be able to enter the 8th floor. Ao Rong shook his head and sighed. The elder of the Dan Tower looked at him speechlessly and said, come on, being able to understand the 7th floor is already very impressive. The chance of this little girl becoming a 7th grade talisman in the future is 60%. Also, if she can ascend to the Guangling realm in the future, she may have the chance to continue to understand the upper 2 layers, Ao Rong said with confidence. The corners of the mouths of the elders twitched, and the sword sex cultivation base was thinking of ascending to the Guangling world. Dream it. The spiritual energy of Tianling continent is thin, and it is difficult to step into the highest realm. It has been many years since there have been sword masters who have ascended, and they have long given up hope. They are also not going to argue with Ao Rong. This person has too many big reasons, they say they can't win. Emperor Slaughter has also entered the 7th floor of the formation tower, the elder of the formation tower said in surprise. Yes, it's worth it to have such 2 geniuses in the opening of the comprehension tower this time, the elder of the Fuda smiled. You must know that every time you open the comprehension tower, the price is very high. Not only millions of spiritual stones are needed, but also the ancestors of the sect need to open the ban under the joint efforts of the sect. The minimum time interval for each turn on is not less than 10 years. Originally, the last time it was turned on was 3 years ago, and it is reasonable to say that it will not be able to start again after 7 years. But because of the special situation this time, in order to deal with the big competition between the 6 major sects, several ancestors spent a lot of essence to reopen the comprehension tower. I only hope that the new inner disciples of the Beiji sect can get better. The achievements will get a few more places to go to the place of inheritance. So in fact, Lum Wan and the other 20 people were lucky to meet such an opportunity this time, otherwise they would have to wait at least 7 or 8 years to come here. Just comparing the 2 of them, the others are a lot inferior, the elder of the beast control tower sighed. The disciples who had entered the beast control tower before had only entered the 5th floor at the highest, and they had not yet finished. The overall level of the disciples in this session is already pretty good, but they are inconspicuous compared to Lum Wen and Ditian Lai Ao Rong said. That's right, you can see that Lum Wen has entered the 4th floor of the formation tower. This speed is too fast. The elders of the formation tower showed exclamation in their eyes. She has every hope of entering the 7th floor of the formation tower. Hopefully. After entering the formation tower, Lum Wen found that the properties of several towers were actually the same. Because of her first experience and her foundation in formation was higher than talisman, she easily understood the 6th floor. It also took less time after stepping into the 7th floor than in the talisman tower. When she came out from the 7th floor and walked into the Dan tower, the elders in the stone house couldn't calm down. Lum Wen has already passed the 7th floor of the 2 towers. No, this news must be reported, the elder of the formation tower said excitedly. At this time, he completely forgot about the bet with Ao Rong. Okay, the old man will report to the sect master. Ao Rong nodded and immediately walked out of the stone house to the sect master. The time outside is not the same as the time in the space, but a month has passed just like that. The disciples who entered the Comprehension Pagoda together were rumored one after another. Among them, the best results were Emperor Slaughtering Heaven, the 7th floor of the Formation Pagoda, and the 6th floor of the Refining Pagoda. Lum Wen had already understood the 7th floor of the Pill Tower and entered the Refining Pagoda. At this time, the sect master also followed a middle-aged man with a graceful figure and a childlike appearance into the secret place. My evil imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world, BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant. Author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 398. Several elders guarding the 5 pagodas were stunned when they saw the person in front of the sect master, and immediately stepped forward to greet them. Meet the ancestors. The man said with a gentle smile, no gift. He walked to the seat in front of the crystal ball and sat down, and glanced at Lum Wen, who had just been passed to the 7th floor in the sweeper tower. She is the little girl who has passed through the talisman tower, the formation tower, and the 7th floor of the Dan tower. The man's voice came out slowly. Yes, the elder of the refining tower replied, she stayed in the refining tower longer than the other 3 towers. I thought she would stop at the 6th floor, but I did not expect to reach the 7th floor. Several elders have gradually become calm from the shock, sigh, and disbelief at the beginning, and they have become numb to Lum Wen's miracle again. The man nodded. No emotion could be seen in his deep eyes, but his eyes did not leave the crystal reflection for a moment. Half a month later. Ancestor, here I have a pot of spirit wine brewed by this girl, can you taste it? Ao Rong knew that the mood of the ancestor of Yuchen might not be as calm as it appeared. Since this incident has alarmed this unpredictable Yuchen ancestor, he naturally wants to establish a better image for Lu girl. The ancestor of Yuchen looked at Ao Rong with a half smile and said, then try it. He took the jug that Ao Rong took out and poured a glass. The fragrant aroma of wine overflowed in the stone house in an instant. High-grade blood sack wine. Ancestor Yuchen snorted lightly, took a sip from the cup, and then his calm eyes showed a bit of light. Not bad. Ao Rong's old smile turned into a daisy, and it was not easy for the ancestor of Yuchen to say the word good. What, this blood sack wine is actually brewed by that little girl? The elder of Danta looked at Ao Rong in surprise. Is it true or false? Ao Rong gave him a white look and said, do I dare to deceive my ancestor? Just kidding. If he fooled the ancestor of Yuchen with the spirit wine brewed by others, he would definitely be sad. Don't look at this old guy's appearance of Dao Guxian Feng, who really wants to fix it. That person is definitely better than death. Ao Rong, you have done a good job. If such a talented disciple allows other sects to go, it will definitely be the biggest loss of our Beiji section. Yuchen ancestor sipped the spirit wine and thought about this guy Ao Rong. The eyes are really vicious. Aorong knew that the ancestor of Yuchen was complimenting him for digging walls and feet, and said with a proud smile, "You didn't see the ugly appearance of the old black faces of other sects when the little girl chose the Beiji sect." The old man burst into laughter at that time. Several elders couldn't bear to look directly at his face, but they couldn't help but admit that this old guy was good at digging. The ancestor of Yuchen smiled lightly, but his expression was filled with joy. He suddenly began to look forward to seeing Lum Wan's performance "Ancestor, it's boring for you to drink alone, why don't we have a few people with you?" The elder of Danta is also a winemaker himself, but his winemaking skills are amazing but incomparable. This bloodsack wine hooked up all the greedy worms in his stomach. Aorong didn't want to take it out after drinking it before, and now he wants to drink the wine of the ancestor of Yuchen, regardless of his face. Several other elders also greeted with a smile and wanted to share a drink. This is Aorong's filial piety to the old man. "Didn't he give you a drink to blow his mind?" Yuchen ancestor glanced at a few people lightly. These old things want to rub his drink, but there is no way. As the ancestor of the 8 extreme sect, he naturally can drink spirit wine all year round, but such sweet and pure blood sack wine is very rare, but it is a pity that the level is a little lower. Cultivation is beneficial. Aorong, you bring out another pot of wine, and I'll exchange it with you for a 5th grade medicine pill. The elder of the Danta smashed his mouth and said. Aorong spread out his hands helplessly, "The last pot is dedicated to the ancestor. When the little girl Lu comes out, you can exchange it with her." This is not a lie. Lum Wan gave him more than 10 pots of blood sack wine at the beginning, and now he has only 2 pots left. This time he has contributed to MIDI, and he is also very distressed. It's just that he can use this reason to get more spirit wine from Lum Wan in the future. "Then do you have other spirit wines?" the elder of the Danta asked unwillingly. Although he wanted to drink blood sack wine, he did not dare to take food from the ancestors of Yuchen. Aorong thought about it and took out 2 pots of honey spirit fruit wine and said, "This is mead given by Lu girl. It is said that it can be used for beauty, so I just kept it and didn't drink it." When he heard the words beauty, he had no interest in this mead. What kind of beauty did he have for a rough old man? Several elders couldn't help but twitch their mouths after hearing about beauty. They don't need this effect when they have old bones, but it is better to drink spirit wine than not, so the elders of Danta picked up a pot and poured a glass. As soon as the wine is poured into the glass, the yellow transparent liquid is extremely pure, and the wine is instantly overflowing, even with a sweet fragrance. Elder Yuchen's eyes darkened and he put away the blood sack wine, picked up the mead and poured a glass for himself. After taking a sip, there was a hint of surprise in his eyes. This turned out to be 100-year-old red honey and several kinds of wine. The spirit wine brewed from the brightling fruit is not bad. The elder of Danta hurriedly took a sip of the wine glass, and then his face showed a bit of intoxication. Good wine, good wine. This wine is of a higher grade than blood sack wine, and the century-old red honey is waiting for me. Diligent cultivation is beneficial, and if you can drink this mead for a long time, you will live longer. Seeing that the elders of Dan Tower were so intoxicated, the other elders and Aorong each poured a cup to drink, and then their eyes lit up. After drinking a cup, Aorong immediately reached out to put away the remaining pot of mead, but Yuchen ancestors took the lead and put it away. The old man is very interested in the effect of this beauty, and this pot of wine belongs to me. Aorong has regretted his bowels now. He always thought that this spirit wine was only drunk by women. Who knew that it would prolong life and improve his cultivation? If he knew it, he would not have taken it out. Aorong brings out 2 more pots. Don't be so stingy. The elder of Danta saw that the remaining pot of wine cup Yuchen ancestor was put away. He dared not ask for it and could only speak to Aorong. Aorong rolled his eyes at him angrily. No, I only took 2 pots when Lu girl said she could beautify her face. He regrets it now? If he had known, he would have asked for a few more pots. No wonder he heard that the female Tyrannosaurus took good care of Lum Wan, and he was afraid that it was because he could drink this mead every day. Hearing him say that, the other elders looked at him with cruel eyes, like you were too stupid. Okay, if you want to drink and wait for that little girl to come out, you can exchange things with her. Elder Yuchen watched Lum Wan, who came out of the refining tower with interest, turned and walked into the beast control tower. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My evil imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world, BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 399. The attention of several elders and Aorong also turned to Lum Wan, who started to realize after entering the beast control tower. This. The elder of the beast control tower asked in surprise, is this girl still a spirit beast master? Of course, she is not only a spirit beast master, but her rank is not low. Aorong raised his chin proudly. The minimum spiritual pets she contracted are all at the early stage of the 8th order, and she even raised a contract for one. A red bee queen. Lum Wan didn't want to expose the red bee mother at first, but when the red bee ran out on the battlefield that day, it still attracted the attention of Aorong and others. However, apart from being frightened, they didn't have any idea of tyranny. Even the owner of the beast controlling academy was only a little envious. Although the Beiji sect is the bottom of the 6 sects, and there will be conflicts among the disciples, but relatively speaking, the sect's atmosphere is relatively positive. Killing people and stealing treasures rarely happen, and they are very united in the face of foreign enemies. What? The Scarlet Bee Empress, the elders of the beast control tower exclaimed and stood up. Only their spirit beast masters knew the value of the Scarlet Bee Empress. Where did she find the Scarlet Bee Empress? The Scarlet Bee Empress is not so good at contracting. Even a 6th level spirit beast master can't make a contract with the Scarlet Bee Empress. How did she do it? Aorong remembered that Lum Wan attracted a large group of red bees in the competition space. He said with a smile, I found it in the competition space of the Tianling Continent Hegemony Tournament. At that time, a large group of red bees were also attracted to attack her. The last activated formation was blocked from the outside. She contracted with the newly born Empress Red Bee. Yu Chan ancestor gently rubbed the wine glass with his fingers. It should be. She released the Queen Mother during the battle with Yin Hong. I think it's only infancy. Aorong nodded. It's no wonder that 100 years of red honey can be used to make spirit wine. If the Red Bee Empress grows up, she will not be short of honey. Elder Yuchen chuckled, looking at Lum Wan with more admiration in his heart. It's good to make a contract with the Red Bee Empress. We can also go and drink mead at that time, the elder of the formation tower said with a smile. I didn't expect Zongmen to find a treasure this time. Yuchen ancestor's lips melted into an arc. This little girl's talent is also amazing, even compared to the ancestors who once soared. Zongmen lacks such a genius right now. If she can also perceive the 7th floor of the beast control tower, then he is bound to alarm the ancestors. When Lum Wan realized in the beast control tower, she did not expect that she would attract the ancestors of the Beiji section. She had learned the ancient contract technique before, so she didn't know much about the contract method of the spirit beast master, so she realized this time. Time is slower. It took more than 10 days to realize the 5th level, but although the time was slow, the harvest was huge. The introduction in the beast control tower covers almost all the monsters in the mainland and their characteristics. Many rare and special monster races also have separate contract methods. There is also the breeding method of the Red Bee Queen in the beast control tower, which is not only more detailed than the secret scripture given by Ye King Han, but also describes many secret breeding methods. Every time she looked at the projections that appeared again and again, She was like a sponge madly absorbing and comprehending those secret books of beast control, and she didn't realize that it was almost 2 months. When she walked out of the 6th floor and was teleported to the 7th floor, it was only 3 days away from 2 months. Oh my god. This little girl is not human at all. The elder of the Dan Tower could not help but sigh when he saw that Lum Wen had actually stepped into the 7th floor of the beast control tower. Aorong glared at him. You're not human, this little girl is a genius. I think it's almost like a little demon, the elder of Fuda muttered. Although she was completely numb to Lum Wen's talent, it was possible that the person who realized the 5 magic towers to the 7th floor had never appeared in the sect before, and she was definitely the first person. The girl is indeed a monster today. Aorong actually felt that Lum Wen was not a normal person. It is very difficult for others to learn a spell and want to specialize. Not only does she know 5 spells, but she can also perceive this level. Neither he nor the elders dared to imagine the sensation it would cause when Lum Wen became a 7th grade talisman, a 7th grade alchemist, a 7th grade array mage, a 7th grade tool refiner, and a 7th grade animal control master. The ancestor of Yuchen looked obscure, and swept the people present with warning eyes, and his tone was rarely sharp. Lum Wen has realized that things on the 7th floor are not allowed to go out when he understands the 5 techniques of the tower. Several people were shocked by the coercion of Yuchen ancestors and immediately said respectfully, "Follow your orders." "Ancestor, it's my sect's fortune that Lum Wen has such a talent, why didn't you spread it out?" After a while, the elder of the formation tower couldn't help asking. Elder Yuchen sat like an old monk. The invisible air pressure made the elders extremely depressed, and after a moment of silence, he said, "If the other 5 sects and several top forces in the mainland know about Lum Wen's talent, this is against the sky, and the old man is afraid that someone with a heart will start an assassination plan to stifle it in the cradle of growth. The sect finally has a new star, and the old man will never allow her to be damaged by the exposure of her talent." Aorong and several elders were stunned for a while, and they also reflected the worries of the ancestors. This kind of thing has also happened in other sections. Be careful to sail the ship for 10,000 years. Now is really not the time to publicize it. We will take our ancestors' concerns seriously. I heard that Chixiu, the first person in the inner sect of the Tianji Palace, has suffered countless assassinations and sneak attacks after he showed his talent against the sky. Aorong sighed and restrained his previous joy. "Stand up. Fortune and misfortune lie on the back of misfortune, and the talent against the sky is not only the creation of Lu Girl, but it will also bring her the calamity of death." "Chixiu? Is that the genius who won the championship in the last 6 major sects?" The ancestor of Yuchen had also heard of Chixiu. "Exactly, he not only won the first place in the 5 arts, but he was also the strongest among the 6 inner disciples of that session." Aorong mentioned Chixiu with admiration. "No, I know who Lu Girl is better than him." "It should be the same in talent," Yuchen ancestor said. "As long as you give Lu Girl room to grow, I think she will never be worse than Chixiu in Tianji Palace." Aorong still has this confidence. The ancestor of Yuchen nodded. With the heaven-defying talent shown by this girl, the sect will naturally cultivate it vigorously. 3 days later, Lum Wen, who was still feeling in the beast control tower, suddenly heard the mechanical sound coming from the tower. 2 months have come. She opened her contemplative eyes, looked at the end of the darkness ahead of her, and sighed, just a little bit. Ancestor Yuchen and others naturally knew that the time was up, but Lum Wen still had a short way to go. "Ancestor, do you think you can give her a few more days?" Aorong asked anxiously to the ancestor of Yuchen. Seeing that the journey was very short, the ancestor of Yuchen pondered for a moment and excited a ball of light with majestic energy from his sleeve, and the ball of light instantly penetrated from the stone house into the beast control pagoda. "Forget it, give her another 5 days, and it can be regarded as a blessing from the old man. My evil imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world, BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant." Author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 400. Just as Lum Wan was waiting to be teleported out of regret, the mechanical voice sounded again. Activate for 5 days, and after 5 days, no matter whether you pass or not, the beast control tower will be transmitted. Lum Wan's eyes lit up. It seemed that someone helped her. She didn't waste time thinking about it, and immediately embarked on the final dark road. 5 days later, when Lum Wan came to the end and was enveloped by the dazzling white light, the activation time had just come, and she was reported out of the beast control tower. It's just right, this girl will count the time. Aorong was overjoyed when he saw that Lum Wan had finally finished the 7th floor of the beast control tower. Elder Yuchen also had a smile on his face. Call her over to see me. Yes, Aorong replied with a big stride out of the stone house and walked towards Lum Wan. At the same time, on a floating island in the inner sect, an arrogant man stood on his back, with 2 inner sect disciples standing behind him. You mean that among the people who entered the Tower of Comprehension, there is still one person who hasn't come out yet? His voice was cold and cold. Yes, this time, the Comprehension Tower has only been opened for 2 months, and it has been more than 5 days now. For some reason, that person has not come out yet, the inner disciple said respectfully. What's her name? Asked the man standing on his back. Her name is Lum Wan, a disciple brought back by Elder Aorong from the Tianling Continent Hegemony competition, one person replied. Lum Wan, the man whispered softly, and after a while he instructed, get me a copy of all her files and news. Yes. For example, such questions appeared on the 4 floating islands at the same time, and the disciples in the sect who participated in the Enlightenment Tower were watching the news of Lum Wan. Emperor Killing Tian realized that after leaving the secret place for 1 month and 10 days, it attracted the attention of many disciples from the inner section. Now Lum Wan has not come out for not only 2 months but also more than 5 days. Doubtful. Secretly comprehend the inside of the tower. Aorong brought Lum Wan to the stone house and immediately reminded, this is the ancestor of Yuchen from our Beiji section. When Lum Wan entered the door, she found the man who was sitting on the upper head with a dignified temperament and a childish face. The breath that came out was the strongest among the people she had ever seen. Lum Wan pays respects to the ancestor of Yuchen. Lum Wan respectfully bowed to the ancestor of Yuchen without asking too much. Although the ancestor of Yuchen used the breath-holding technique to restrain the breath of the whole body, she dared to conclude that this person was definitely a strong sword god. No ceremony. The ancestor of Yuchen had a gentle face and said with a light smile, little girl, have all your 5 comprehension towers realized the 7th floor? Yes. You are very good. Elder Yuchen's voice came out slowly with a bit of ethereal spirit. Lum Wan's expression did not change, and he accepted his compliment humbly, thank you for my ancestors. Ancestor Yuchen's eyes gleamed with interest. This little girl is not very old, but she has a very old-fashioned way of doing things. In particular, this disposition of honor and disgrace made him like and appreciate it a little more. In fact, there is no shortage of talent in this world, but talent alone may not be able to go far. A firm belief and a temperament that is neither arrogant nor impetuous are also the keys. And the little girl in front of him gave him an extraordinary feeling of this woman. If he always maintains this disposition of honor and disgrace, he will definitely become a strong one in the future. I have ordered them not to publicize the matter of the 7th floor of the 5 pagodas when you understand it, and don't say anything after you go back, the ancestor of Yuchen said with a meaningful smile, and there was also a temptation in it. Lum Wan nodded and said with a smile, thank you for your ancestors, I don't want to publicize this. She understands the kindness of the ancestors of Yuchen. If the news of the 7th floor of the 5 pagodas is spread out, it will definitely be unfavorable to her, and there may be some people who do not want her to participate in the competition before the 6 major sects. Haha, you really are a transparent person. You have such a bearing at a young age, and you will be extraordinary in the future. Elder Yuchen liked Lum Wan's intelligence a little bit. This girl is a good seedling. The most important thing is that this indifferent attitude is really rare. If it was replaced by other talented disciples, I am afraid that others would have already shouted and showed it off without saying anything. Lum Wan smiled and didn't answer. In fact, she always liked to be low-key, but many times things backfired and she had to act in a high-profile manner. If people who know Lum Wan know that what she is thinking now, she will be pouting at the corners of her mouth and looking at the sky. If she is all involved in low-key, there will be no low-key people in the world. Are you still a sommelier? Elder Yuchen asked with a kind smile. Lum Wan actually smelled the spirit wine she had brewed as soon as she entered the stone house. Although it had been a while, she couldn't escape her very sensitive sense of smell. Well, I just got promoted to the 5th grade spirit sommelier, Lum Wan answered truthfully. After she came to the sect, she spent most of her time either doing tasks or refining talismans, so she didn't improve much in winemaking. Aorong and several elders gasped when they heard her answer, this girl is going against the sky. Different from those who specialize in the other 5 arts, the premise is not only to be able to concoct alchemy, but also to have brewing talent and wine to be able to advance, and the cost is not less than that of alchemy and alchemy. The most important thing is that there are very few spirit sommeliers in the entire Tianling continent, and high-grade sommeliers are even rarer. A 5th grade spirit sommelier is definitely the object that the top forces are all vying for. How old is she? If the 4 or 5 rank spirit wine masters in 11 Zalo knew about her existence, they would not be ashamed to die. Is there still room for improvement? Elder Yuchen tapped the armrest in his hand, revealing that he was not calm at this time. Spiritualist is the most difficult profession to advance among all magicians, and it is also the profession that is most popular with swordsmen. It is more respected than high-level alchemists. He did not expect this little girl to have reached the 5th rank. It would be a lie to say that he was not surprised. Now he not only regards Lum Wan as a treasure, but even looks at Aorong a lot. Yes, but I don't have any advanced spirit grass or spirit fruit to improve. Lum Wan blinked her eyes and sighed. Seeing her pitiful appearance, Aorong's eyelids couldn't help but jump wildly. This dead girl is too courageous, and the black male actually knocked on the ancestors of the section. Do you want to be so exciting? He is old and has a bad heart. The other elders naturally heard the hidden meaning in her words. I don't have the advanced spirit grass and spirit fruit that I have improved. Ancestor, please give me some. Several people couldn't help shivering. This hairy girl is really bold. If it was replaced by another disciple who designated to swear in front of the ancestor that he would work hard to improve, how could it be possible to mention no spirit grass and spirit fruit? But she actually wanted to blackmail when she heard the question from the ancestor. This is really not them. These mortals can understand. Haha. The ancestor of Yuchen laughed heartily, with a bit of sharpness in his eyes. You are so bold. How did I provoke the ancestor? Lum Wan looked at Aorong innocently and asked with a wink. How can these old guys want to drink spirit wine without blood? What about the ancestors? The ancestors represented power and wealth. What did the ancestors do? Of course it was for extortion.